Just because I love you, it don't mean I trust you. Everybody not to be trusted. Everybody around me thugging. Everybody around me drugging. Everybody around me hustling. Everybody know not to bring no new rigging around me. They say I be bugging. Got racks in the go-yard luggage. Just cause I love you, it don't mean I trust you. Everybody not to be trusted.
What's up, everybody? This is another episode of Uncut with Q, and I am your host, Quentin Flores. Welcome back to the show, everybody that's been listening. I've been doing a lot of these solo ones, and they're always things that just kind of like come to my mind, things that I feel passionate to talk about. So today's episode is going to be an episode of Real Talk. We're going to be going over something that I think that's super imperative, especially for people that get into business or try to start something. One of the things that I've come to notice just being an entrepreneur and being in business is that most people, when they jump into it, it's kind of like just trying to find your way. And believe me, like I'm guilty of this. I think nobody knows what the hell they're doing the first day that they decide to walk into the gym. No one knows what the hell they're doing the first day that they decide to go out and try something different. And anybody who's ever made anything great started from exactly where I'm talking about right now. Okay? And so I want to give you guys some actionable steps today. Today's episode is going to be about how to create something that you can scale, okay? And I'll never forget this. When I first walked in to the gym, the first goal for me was to just figure out a way to create it and make it into a habit. Now, as I started progressing, I hit a plateau. We all are gonna hit plateaus in our lives, in our business, in our relationships. Sometimes these plateaus are just necessary for growth, and it might seem like you're being dragged back, but you're really being pulled back to be lunged forward. And so this is something that is just so true when it comes to entrepreneurship. The day came where I realized that I had hit my plateau. Now, this podcast, this episode, I'm not gonna be talking about being anything in fitness. I'm just gonna give you guys something that I feel relates to what it is that you're trying to do, especially if you're building a business or you're listening to this and you're trying to do something different, right? And so fitness taught me so much, especially about me and the way that I handled things. And so I remember when I hit my plateau, I had already lost a solid 30 to 40 pounds on my own. I was living in an apartment at the time, and I had just decided to give up alcohol a couple of months prior to me beginning my fitness journey. It was the day after Thanksgiving that I went and literally did a U-turn on the middle of the highway and drove to an LA Fitness where I would begin my fitness journey. And for you guys that follow me, a lot of y'all that follow me on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, YouTube, whatever it is, y'all know that I'm always posting that I'm in the gym. My office is literally in a gym. And so I'm very, very keen on and focused when it comes to being consistent with my gym, right? And so this is something that literally correlates to everything that anybody who's ever accomplished anything great should literally adhere to. And if you can understand this, you know, make sure that you like this, share it, put this message out there for somebody else to receive it. My trainer had me go out and do all kinds of stuff before we began training. And I didn't really know what it was for. And so I came back to him with all of the things that he had asked me for. He had asked me for my blood work. He asked me to check my liver, kidney, and thyroid. He asked me to check my gut health. And then I stepped on a scale. And then I went to go stand on a very special kind of scale that tells you what your BMR is, which is your basal metabolic rates, how your body digests food without working out. It also measured my skeletal muscle mass to the, body fat percentage that I had on my body. And so I gave all of these things to him. And I remember I asked him, I said, what are we doing here? Like, what does all of this really mean? Because at the time, I'm like brand new in fitness, like I've been running businesses. I've been doing all that stuff. The money-making stuff was honestly way easier than me trying to figure out a way to get my health back. And I'll never forget this, right? He told me this, and I want all of you guys to hear this message. He said, if you can't measure it, you can't scale it. If you cannot measure it, how do you ever expect to scale it? And so he did all of these things and wrote them into this nice chart. And this chart he would give to me, which I would update every single month. And I'd be standing on these scales and doing my blood work and being consistent with all of these things because he wanted to figure out how my body composition was built. You see, guys, not everybody's created the same, right? We all have different things going on internally, and we don't know what those things are until we get a hold of them. And so once we figured that out, that was plan one. Plan one is what's going on internally. Plan two was now to create a regiment or a specific actionable steps that we would take every single day. Well, not every day, but you need to rest when you're doing fitness, but Monday through Friday. And Monday through Friday, I had a regiment. you know, and those regiments I would adhere to. So I would go to meet him on Mondays. Every single Mondays we would do legs. I learned to fall in love with starting my week with legs. Legs is like my core muscle group. I love to work out my legs. The second day of the week, Tuesday, I'd go in and I do chest. And then the third day of the week, I'm doing arms. Fourth day of the week, I'm doing shoulders. Last day of the week, which is Friday, I'm doing back. Then my Saturdays are all out, full blown, low intensity cardio. Sundays, I choose to rest. And so I honored this regiment for a whole year to break through the plateau that I had literally been hit with in my fitness journey. And lo and behold, with my trainer's help, I was able to drop an additional 40 pounds in weight. And I was seeing results that I was actually pretty proud of, where I would go online and I post a picture with my shirt off or flexing in the gym. Some of you guys see me do those things now. And so the reason why I'm telling you guys this is because the first thing that you need to do, if you're trying to scale something that you're trying to do, whatever it is, whether it's a business or a fitness or anything, the first thing that you need to do is to measure where you are at currently. How many calls are you currently making every single week? How many text messages are you sending out? How many emails are you replying? How many agents are you connecting to? How many people, how many networking events are you attending every single month? All of these things need to be measured. People come up to me and they ask me this all the time. They say, Q, how do I close my first real estate deal? And I tell them this, all right, well, what did it take for you to close one? What did it take for you to close one? What was the output for you to close one deal? Most of them are like, well, you know, I don't know. I can't really tell you. And I said, well, that's the thing right there. If you told me, hey, Q, how do I get to 5 deals a month? How do I close 5 deals a month? Well, if you knew what it took to close 1 deal a month, then all you would have to do is duplicate your efforts by 5, literally. And you would have 5 properties closing every single month. This is the reality when it comes to scaling, where you have to create actionable steps that allow for you to scale. And so I'm going to urge all of you guys to do a full-blown breakdown of whatever it is that you do on a day-to-day basis. Start measuring and tracking what those things are, okay? And if you truthfully want to get somewhere, you need to separate what you do into categories, all right? You're going to spend 2 hours cold calling, an hour of sending emails, 1 hour posting on social media, 2 hours of maybe networking events, something like that. You put all of this into a regiment and then you honor it every single week. That's how you create compounded gains. One of my favorite books of all time, and it was one of the first personal development books that I've ever read in my life, was called The Compound Effect. And it was written by a gentleman named Darren Hardy, who's the author of Success Magazine. So you could imagine the amount of people that want to be in the magazine that submit their quote unquote preferences on what they believe makes somebody a millionaire. So he's read hundreds of thousands of these submissions that people add to his magazine because he has to vet them and see if this is something that he wants to publish, right? And so the idea of the book is that success is something that is compounded, that it's small incremental changes that almost seem like they're extremely unnecessary that make up the bigger picture of what it is that you are trying to accomplish. And when you compound these things and you decide to stick to those compounded gains, what happens, guys, is that you tend to see the outcome in time. It might not be in 1 month. It might not be in 1 year. It might not be in 5 years. It might not be in 10. But if you measure this and you stay consistent with taking action, putting scalable tasks in front of you that you have to accomplish on a day-to-day basis, and understanding the outcome, meaning that this is where I'm trying to go. When you reverse engineer the process and you start with the end in mind, you can create the steps that you wish to attain. My goal for the longest time was to be 230 pounds with lean muscle mass, 25% body fat. And I hit that goal back in February. I'm currently on a bulking phase. Your boy's probably as happy as he's been in a long time. And I'll tell you what, like, I'm eating like a motherfucker, but I'm also training very, very hard. And so I know now what food does to my body, and I'm understanding what the output has to be for me when I go to the gym to meet the food in the middle, because food is fuel. And so for a lot of you guys, what you're not doing, especially when you start, is you're not knowing where you're at. You have to measure where you're at. That's the first thing. That's step number one. Step number two is to create a regiment of tasks that you will honor on a Monday through Friday basis that will allow for you to see the end result. And then the third piece, we start with the end in mind. So if your goal is to make $1.5 million by the end of 2025, then you have to be able to create that regimen of what that looks like. We put that number in front of us, we draw it, we put it on a sticky note so it's in our faces every single day. We slap it to a mirror somewhere where we look at it, and we continuously work toward that goal by creating this process and system. And so for all of you guys that are watching this, it's about measuring, and then it's about scaling, okay? So that's my message for you guys today. I appreciate all of y'all for enjoying the show. Share this with somebody. That's all I'm asking. Love y'all so much. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Let's get it.